Appreciate you guys coming in. Looking forward to playing the game. You said it's coming out sometime this year, hopefully.
Yeah, we're trying to get it out, by the end of the year, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Getting into with that Christmas rush, so
yeah,
it's buried.
It sounded like we might wait till after
all
that insanity's over.
No,
yeah.
I think we should go up against Fallout 4. I think
they're totally different
matchup.
games, different audiences.
Yeah, totally. No one cares about that anyway. So.
Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you coming
Thank
in.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And now we're going to talk about, we're going to play musical chairs over here, and we're going to bring in Mike and Jazz. We're going to talk about some of the things that we've seen at E3 on the floor and at the conferences, because we didn't get to talk about it yesterday. Nintendo happened, and we were pretty much just focused on that after Galaxy. So, are we swapping, Joe?
Let's
this
go.
happening?
All right.
Am I been the only one?
All right.
No, that's cool. Everyone will be there.
Put up the pretty graphic. And
All right.
All right.
Thanks. Sorry, I kept
Is there?
dying.
Is
No.
there
Is this far enough? Close enough? The mic?
Yep. 20
Find a
minutes.
tie, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we're back.
Yay! All right. So that was a lot of fun.
Indeed.
That was a lot of fun. So we have 20 minutes, and I think we should probably just talk about some of the things we didn't get to talk about yesterday, some of the games we saw, we got to play, and how we felt about all the conferences and all that jazz.
That jazz?
Let's kick it off. Jazz, how'd you feel about day one?
Pretty excited. I actually got to see the Hololens at the Guardian 5, Halo 5 Guardians Warzone preview, and that was one of the coolest pieces of technology I've ever seen. I mean, I was really blown away by it. I don't really get that excited about pieces of hardware, but this was seriously cool. Basically, we got to put on the headset, which kind of has a visor that comes down over my glasses. We calibrated it. Got to walk down a corridor, which was kind of like built out like the inside of a USNC spaceship, and stand in front of a table and basically get a briefing from a fully animated Spartan that looked like
Oh my gosh.
like Obi-Wan Kenobi being projected by R2-D2 onto a table. I mean, it was just astonishing, and you could kind of move your head like this, and it was fully 3D, really convincing, very crisp and clear. And the briefing comes through.
Did you reach out and touch it?
I kind of was lifting up my glasses and putting my hand in front just to sort of see, because it was so convincing. Very cool. There was a model of the the spaceship that we were supposed to be on, the Infinity, and that was spinning, and there's a little red reticle in the middle of the display, and you could kind of look at different parts of the spaceship, and when you did, it highlighted it, and it kind of exploded with a sort of a little menu that told you what you were looking at. Just a very, very cool piece of technology, and the application for RTS games or board games or even sports games and fighting games to have 3D chess games even.
I imagine building it like The Sims, or even we saw Minecraft,
right.
And I just imagine that being so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it really is an interesting piece of technology. It's very different from VR. VR is completely immersive. You're kind of stuck inside a helmet. This, you're looking at a table, so it feels a lot more natural. You can have multiple people standing around the table, all looking at, maybe a sort of very sophisticated RTS game, controlling your little guys and stuff, and it just felt really quite stunning. I felt like I was seeing a piece of science fiction technology.
Yeah, you're sitting there, you're like, I'm in the future, like I'm here.
Yeah, see, it really feels like those sci-fi future video board game type things. Like the hologram chess in Star Wars, or space fighters flying over a tabletop or something. The big problem with VR is that it is immersive, and your eyes are telling you one thing, and the rest of your body is telling you, no, you're just sitting in a seat. Right. And it lacks that convincing. I mean, Adrift, that zero gravity survival game. You can play that on Oculus, but I didn't want to do that because I thought that seems like a bad idea. And everyone who played it on Oculus was just like, I feel so sick because you're moving and spinning in full 3 dimensions, and it's supposedly zero gravity, but your whole body, your ears are telling you, no, you're grounded, you're in gravity. So it's this lack of cooperation between your senses that I don't think AR suffers from as much.
And VR works
I suffer
really
from
well.
that too. That disconnect where I'm just completely. I don't feel like I'm in the virtual reality because that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, no, VR works, and I've been playing it for a long time, since the original Oculus Rift, where I couldn't wear my glasses and it was doom. Works really well when your body matches what's actually happening in the game. So Eve Valkyrie works really well. I assume Elite Dangerous would probably work really well.
Yeah, I played a demo of that. It was very good.
F1 Racing was I think 2 years ago, and that works really well.
Well, last year Alien Isolation worked really well with it.
Did it?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was going to.
It was the only time I ever tried it that I really felt immersed. I was like, and I actually got lost in it. Every other time I've tried it, I can't get lost in it.
Yeah. But until Jazz came back with the HoloLens demo, I was like, that was great. I personally felt I was like, I looked at the demos and I was like, this is really great for that Minority Report style. I saw it as an interface thing. I can definitely see it as a business thing, and I was like, but it feels limited for games. And then Jazz came back and was like, it was great.
Yeah, it's so kind of high def and so crisp and clear. I think that was the thing that really blew me away was the fact that my eyes were completely fooled by this thing that was sort of coming out of the table. And they at one point they were showing a map of the level that you played on, and it kind of rose out of the table, and it zoomed in to sort of say, you need to take this location and then move and take this location, and here's some objectives, and here's a boss that you need to fight, and that rose up out of the table and stomped around, and it was. It's just that the thought of actually kind of seeing kind of like little tanks and airplanes flying over the table, was wow, that would be just one of the coolest games I could think of
Halo
playing.
Wars.
Yes.
I'm gonna pause just to answer something from the chat. Panther Alexander, this is Mike. We do know what Jazz looks like now. Jeremy, and I'm Sam, and I know I haven't been, I think, officially introduced on a stream before, but I am a new support for US Gamer and community curator. It's nice to meet you. And then we want to, Postatronic Brain says, I'd like to know what they think about Final Fantasy VII, the remake announcement. It doesn't look like it's that far into production, and it reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy versus 13, and that's because it was Final Fantasy versus 13.
No, it's Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, but it's Final Fantasy 15, but wasn't it initially Final Fantasy versus 13?
Yeah, but he's talking about Final Fantasy.
He's talking
VII
about
remake.
remake.
There's a lot of Final Fantasies
Sorry,
out
sorry.
there.
My brain just played tricks on
There's
me.
a lot of Final Fantasies going on right now.
I'm actually too excited about all the Final Fantasies going on right now, which is why they all just kind of mix in my brain. But yes, so Final Fantasy VII, I don't think it really looks, personally, I don't think it looks like Final Fantasy Versus 13, but I don't know.
Maybe he's talking about the fact that the team behind it is the original team behind Versus 13. Yoshinori Kitase is producing. Tetsuya Nomura is directing. I mean, those were the original creators, to some degree, of Final Fantasy VII. Hironobu Sakaguchi, the original director of the game, is no longer with the company, obviously.
Well,
but it's still a lot of the original talent.
And I guess I can see it. It's like a fantasy based in reality sort of thing, and I think that Final Fantasy VII had the most realism in it.
Yeah, in the trailer we saw was basically just a CG reel of like scenery.
Yeah.
And they've reinvented Midgar to look much more big city of Midgar, the big future dystopian megalopolis or whatever. To look much more like Tokyo, which is also what Final Fantasy Versus 13 originally looked like.
Well, yeah, I remember the toll plazas in the first trailer.
Yeah.
So there's definitely that going on. They've rethought what the game looks like, or what the game world looks like, and it doesn't look as much like Advent Children as I was afraid it would, which is good because I really think Advent Children is garbage.
I'm with you, Mike. I actually really enjoyed Advent Children. I'm sorry. Now I feel bad. I feel like I have to like reevaluate my judgment on that one.
It's fine. I'm just
it was
guy.
Cranky Cloud.
Yeah.
You didn't like Cranky Cloud. It's okay.
So let me
so
pimp out
angsty.
our so angst. Let me pimp out our RPG podcast.
Yes, because that's.
Kat and I had a very lengthy discussion about Final Fantasy VII's remake yesterday, and that should be up on the site soon if it's not already. But I'm actually. I have a lot of criticism of Final Fantasy VII, but I also really respect it, and I really feel like this is an opportunity for Square to go back and revisit it and bring it up to standards and smooth over the rough edges and get rid of some of the superfluous content that it didn't really need. But at the same time, I really hope they stick to the original story, the original characterization, and Cloud's not just like, I'm so sad. Where's my cell phone? It fell in the water. Oh, that's not what Cloud was.
But so for me, because I don't have that respect for it because I don't because
Wow.
but let me tell you why. It's just
Because it's trash.
I was really young when it came out. No, I was very young when it came out, so I didn't play it the first time around. I don't have the nostalgia factor that everybody else gets from it. I don't have the wow, this is so amazing. I was already playing games that were leaps and bounds ahead of that when I first played it. So for me, I played it and I was like, this is terrible. And I didn't have that profound like appreciation for it.
You know they're coming for you now.
They are. They're with pitchforks and fire.
It's a fair perspective, though.
Yeah.
And that was my experience of the game. And I love Final Fantasy games, as you know. I'm a huge fan. And I've kind of learned what it's about and learned to appreciate it over the years for what it was. But every time I play, I laugh at it. And I can't help that. So I'm so excited to see it remade because I'm like, Matt, maybe now I'll really appreciate what Final Fantasy VII is about.
The thing that strikes me about it is after the initial high, oh my God, Final Fantasy VII, they're finally remaking it, then I jumped back mentally and I was like, well, I mean, at some point they gave us a trailer for Versus 13. 2006. And that game isn't even coming this year. And this team is mostly the same, isn't it?
Tetsuya Nomura still has this other game, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Why did they give him?
That's also not playable this year.
Why are they letting him do this?
Because he's
These are 3 games I've been waiting for all of these.
He's a beautiful man.
10 years.
And creatives need to be creative, but you also need that person to step in and go, no.
So we've been waiting for Versus 13, 15 for 10 years, Kingdom Hearts 3 for 10 years, and now how long do you think we're gonna wait for Final Fantasy?
I'm gonna say 4 years. I think
I'm
Square
going for the magic 10.
Square is getting its act together. They've been launching a concerted campaign over the past few years to really turn things around. Ever since Final Fantasy 13 came out and was just not a complete game.
Yeah, like the mystery.
Like they had it in this development hell forever, and then in like the last 6 months they put together a game, and it was good, but it just wasn't what it should have been, and the whole process there was really, it's the same process that's caused Final Fantasy 15 to take forever. they are really trying to change that.
I hope
and
so.
Change the way things work, and they've been doing a good job of it. I think it really helps that they bought IDOS because their Western developed games are a great business. Like those games are all a lot of fun to play, very impressive, and it gives the Japanese side. It's given the Japanese side of the company a bit of time to regroup, and
Breathing
reorganize.
time.
Yeah, and I feel like they have taken that time and really stopped and said, okay, what are we doing wrong and how can we get it right? And I don't think Final Fantasy VII Remake's coming out in 2017 like they've said, but I don't think it's going to be 10 years. I think it'll be a couple of years out.
Do you think it will be this generation?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it'll still come to PS4 and
First,
Xbox One. You know, in this time, it's just a matter of how they build it, because they essentially have to build the entire game from the ground up.
Yeah, Nomura has said in an interview yesterday with GameSpot, that they're bringing the PC port of PS1 Final Fantasy VII to PS4. So basically, the original Final Fantasy VII is going to be on PS4, and it doesn't make sense to have two versions of the same game on the same platform. So the new game, the remake needs to be materially different and not just prettier. So I'm curious to see what they do with it.
Aerith may live.
Aerith, that's right.
She's not gonna. They can. What are you telling me? They're gonna change the story?
No.
Oh my god, Mike, yeah.
She had a moment there, like,
No.
You're gonna go find the general in Wall Market and bring him the right medicine, and then he'll give you the materia that brings Aerith back to life. All the rumors will come true.
or you're just gonna drop a phoenix down on her, just ding, and she pops back up, and you're like, wow.
It'll be like
I
Chrono
asked
Trigger. You'll go
myself
back in
that.
time and get a doll and put it in her place. Sephiroth kills the doll.
Why can we use Phoenix Downs in battle, but we can't use them in real life?
The great existential debate of Final Fantasy VII.
Because we can't actually use them in battle.
No,
It's
you
a
can.
mental construct
Ah.
that's happening between us and the game. In the real world, Phoenix Downs don't exist.
I wish they did. That'd be weird.
Jess, what do you think about all this?
You're asking the wrong guy. I've only ever played one Final Fantasy game, and I didn't really get on with it. And I can't
Which
even
one was
remember. It was the first one that had the really amazing CG.
So 7?
7
So it might well have been
or
7.
8? No. Well, I mean, if you're thinking about like cutscenes, like three-dimensional cutscenes, that'd probably be 8.
7 was the one that brought in the CG.
Well, yeah, but in 7 it was like but
No,
but
it
8
was-
but 8 was
Again,
like
you weren't there. It was amazing at the time. Trust me.
I know. Well, I believe you.
I remember seeing
but I'm
it
just
and
saying.
just thinking, like, this looks incredible, and I started playing it, and I just didn't know what I was doing. You know, the combat was just completely confusing to me. So, and I didn't have anybody to kind of explain it. If I'd had somebody to play it with, I think I'd have probably gotten into it. But I just didn't quite know what I was doing.
Well, now here's your chance. Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the fuss is all about.
For the record, I just have to say, I think that the cutscenes in 8 were from my point of view at the time, were more impressive.
Oh, they
They
were,
were.
but-
And also 8 was just better.
That's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Squall was pretty.
Okay.
I'm just
I'm
saying-
afraid.
The first Final Fantasy to have like graphics was Final Fantasy VII.
No, I know
Like,
that.
that was no one had done that before. That's
Yeah.
a big part of why
Groundbreaking.
people love it so much, because it was just this experience they'd never had before, and
I
now
actually
they can
enjoyed
have the
the
experience
movie.
again.
I've watched the movie and enjoyed that.
The Spirits Within or
Yes.
Avid Children.
Spirits Within.
You are in the minority.
I know, because
Yes.
I didn't know what I was looking at, and I just kind of just took it. For
Finally, an
what it was.
RPG with Steve Buscemi. That's what I've been waiting for all this time.
Let's, because we only have a couple minutes left, move on from Final Fantasy VII. Well, we could probably talk about this forever. And if you want to talk more about it, Jeremy and Kat talked about it in X of the Blood God.
Check out Act of the Blood God.
Yes, and they debate the strength of Aerith, or lack thereof.
No,
I'm actually with you on that, but I understand where Kat's coming from with that, because
it's okay. We can move on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, this is just me, and we can talk about Final Fantasy forever later.
We should get you on Act of the Blood God for sure.
Yeah. So, Mike, favorite
What?
thing you saw at conferences day one? Like, what's the thing?
Oh, wow. That, I mean,
Or
See, the problem is so like going down the line of games I played, Lego Dimensions was great, Mad Max was great, but they're very different games. And then there was Uncharted 4, and it's Uncharted, and I really love Indiana Jones and Nathan Drake by extension. But the section that they show of Uncharted 4 is very much one of those major action set piece sections, which exists. Like the Uncharted games flip between the exploration and the this is a really awesome thing where you're getting a feel for Nathan Drake putting in his life in danger. But if you deviate from the path that they've set, you die. And it was definitely playable, like Mr. Druckmann was playing it. But there was that definite feeling that he's done it before, and if I had been doing it, I would have gone slightly off the beaten path, and the truck tank thing would have crushed my Nathan Drake.
I cannot stand that kind of stuff design. It bugs me so much.
So
just make it a movie, and it's fine.
Yeah, so probably Mad Max. I was really jiving with Mad Max.
I seem to like that game a lot more than anyone else who played it at the pre-E3 stuff. Like, it's, it's got some of the open world problems that bug me, but just the fact that it seems really unforgiving. Like, you almost ran out of gas.
I did. So I was playing the game, and the hands-on wasn't as guided as some of the hands-on that we end up having here at E3. And so I'm driving along, destroying other people, and I was
using the harpoon on people's tires.
On tires and
pulling the tires out.
You
and
can
then just
also
driving past
use
them.
the harpoon on the drivers.
Yeah, you can.
And pull them out of their cars, and that is amazing.
You don't have to kill everyone just because it's a video game.
So, I was driving around like you do in an open world game that has this, and I was looking, and my fuel gauge was low, and I was like, so what happens if I run out of fuel? And the guy was like, well, that's it. You have to go find fuel and then bring it back to your car.
And it's a big desert.
It's a big
empty
desert.
expanse.
And if you run into another car and you're not in a car, they will run you over.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like open world games tend to have these big, empty, vast expanses. This one actually justifies it.
Yeah.
And you have, like when you forage for stuff in open world games like Assassin's Creed, there's the little meter that fills up slowly, and then you get it. But why does it do that? There's no reason for it to do that. But in Mad Max, there is a reason, because you're constantly under threat.
Yeah.
And while you're digging and foraging, and the little meter's filling, there's dudes who are out there looking for you, trying to kill you. So there's this risk-reward element to it that I think is really lacking in a lot of open world games, and to me, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
You also said, it mentioned it being unforgiving, and I think that people want more unforgiving games. I think games had gotten kind of too forgiving over time.
I mean, when I demoed it, I played for like half an hour, and I almost ran out of ammo, and that's a bad situation to be in out in the wasteland.
And you have to.
There's like sniper towers and stuff, and I was shooting them back, but then I ran out of sniper ammo. I was like, well, now I have to avoid the sniper towers and find other ways around the desert, because if I got close enough to the sniper towers, they would shoot me. And to restore health, you have to get out of your car, and you have a canteen. It's kind of like Dark Souls. Like, you sit there and you drink water, and as your water drains, your health slowly fills. But again, you're vulnerable the entire time. You can't just like instantly fill up your health. Mm-hmm. So it's really risky and really tense, and I really hope that they make a commitment to making it a difficult and challenging and tense game.
Yeah, well, I think that's really important. Like, I want to be forced to make intelligent decisions and make tactical decisions. It's so easy to just get, like I said, lost in playing easy games that tell you where to go and tell you how to play. And it's really refreshing to not be told what to do in a game.
No, you can definitely screw yourself in that.
There's like sometimes there's too many directives, and it's just like, please let me play. So that's gonna be a fun experience.
Yeah, I've seen 3 open world games at this. Actually 4, Metal Gear Solid, Mad Max, Just Cause 3, and Horizon, and all 4 of those really